All right, you guys, what is going on? It's your boy Town Biz. So I thought I would do a stream on my way to work. So I don't. So people have asked me one to talk about that situation with Bud taking a picture with Donald Trump, and I guess I'll speak on that. I'm gonna speak on that later on because like here we go again. Like with people being finicky where basically people pick and choose what they want to be upset about with somebody. I didn't came to the conclusion that people just don't like Terrence Crawford for whatever reason. And now you're hearing his black card is relinquished and all that kind of stuff. And I'm gonna say this again. I didn't see Errol Spence condemn Jerry Jones when that picture surfaced of Jerry Jones at a Jim Crow rally, even though Jerry Jones gave one of the weakest excuses why he was there. But like I said, people try to get political when they want to. One thing about me, I'm consistent with that. And I'm gonna get back to making videos. I had some stuff going on. I was really busy. I had some stuff going on that I had to take care of. So I'm gonna get back to making videos and all that kind of stuff. But I decided to do a live stream because I've seen an interview with Errol Spence and Andre Ward. And the Errol Spence fans started drooling at the mouth when they heard Errol Spence basically still making excuses. He refuses to give Terrence Crawford his props. So here's the thing. Let me ask you something. If he wasn't the same after all this, stuff happened to him, which was his own doing, why didn't he exercise the rematch? I mean, he was out of boxing for pretty much 3 years. And I'm just going to give you guys a reality check, and I'm just going to say it because y'all can't seem to distinguish your personal feelings for somebody versus, somebody's skill set. Up until that fight, we heard every excuse that Terrence Crawford was ducking and he didn't want the fight, and there was every effort to try to make that fight. And then to hear Errol Spence sit up there and make all them excuses about, and he threw, you know what I'm saying, and he threw Derrick James under the bus, saying he didn't spar for 6 weeks and all that, 6 or 7 weeks. Well, whose fault is that? Accident and all this kind of stuff. Now, as I said before, going into the fight, wasn't nothing wrong with Errol, because somebody I know is an Errol Spence fan, and he still be making excuses. Because going into the fight, y'all, Errol Spence apologists was talking about Bud gonna get his ass, he gonna get whooped on. So, there was no excuses about the eye and the car accident. As soon as Bud wins, then, it was the car accident, it was this, it was that. Well, he was fine in his fights before the car accident. He was fine. He was fine before the Ugas fight. He was fine before the Danny Garcia fight. So now all of a sudden, something changed. Now all of a sudden, here we go again, revisiting something that happened almost 3 years ago, pretty much 3 years ago. Come next month, it'll be pretty much 3 years. All this stuff about, look how Errol Spence look. Yeah, Errol Spence, reality sunk in. I'm going to say this once again. Terrence Crawford isn't responsible for how Errol Spence conducts himself outside of boxing. And I heard a couple of goofballs, and I heard that goofball saying this changes that. No, it doesn't change shit. Doesn't change shit. Because let me ask you something. And let's see if there's an honest fan here that's going to tell the truth. Would you be trying to hear this if this was the other way around? Let's say Spence had won the fight. would you be making those excuses if or would you buy into those excuses that if Terrence Crawford that lost to Errol Spence via knockout 12th round decision, and Terrence Crawford said, oh, I didn't spar, oh, I've been shot, and once again, Terrence Crawford been shot in the head. So when I hear people sit up here and try to discredit the man, that's weak sauce. And when I say that's as weak as you could get, I'm talking about that's just real weak. It's just real weak. It's pathetic. And it's classless. You lost, man. You lost. You lost. And that's just the bottom line. And what Errol Spence is doing, he trying to give his fans a lifeline, something to hang on to from that monumental ass whooping he took via Terrence Crawford. And I'm not trying to hear that. And the sad part about it is, it's disappointing to hear another black man do that. And that's why I be saying a lot of y'all be on that fake pro-black shit. Terrence Crawford wasn't a fighter. Y'all just gonna have to accept it. Y'all gonna have to accept it and respect it. I've been hearing way too many excuses. I don't care about him taking a picture with Trump, to be honest with you, because I give a fuck. There wasn't no excuse. There wasn't no, like I said, going into this fight, it was all good. I remember everybody said, hey, Tim, whoever wins, we gonna respect it. That's what I heard. I heard everybody said, hey, may the best man win. So does Terrence Crawford won that fight. Then here it is. A lot of people just jealous of Terrence Crawford. And I done came to the conclusion that a lot of people don't like him. Just don't like him. They've never liked him. I don't know what it is. They just don't like him. But like I said, what I have a problem is when, you know, you got people trying to sit up here and make excuses. He lost the fight fair and square, man. And people got to stop doing that. People got to stop making excuses. People got to stop like trying to discredit the man. Because I heard that goofball that, you know, be with the boxing voice sometime. I ain't gonna say his name, because like I said, I don't want people to think that I'm clout chasing, which I'm not. But it get nauseating to just continue after 3 years to hear people still well, it was the card. Oh, well, no. Like I said, I'm gonna say this once again. It ain't. I'm gonna say this once again, so people can get a clear perspective. It ain't Terrence Crawford's job to make sure Errol Spence trained properly. Terrence Crawford did his part. He trained properly and he won the fight. If Errol Spence didn't have any sparring, that's on him. Maybe he should have fought. If he had 7 weeks to go before that fight, then he should have fired Derek James. Why didn't you have any sparring? I guess the next conspiracy gonna be, which I'm pretty sure, because I've been doing this boxing media stuff for a while. I'm pretty sure the next conspiracy theory gonna be that Derek James was a spy for Terrence Crawford. Mark my words. That's gonna be the next thing. Now I'm gonna say this about Derek James. I feel a certain type of way about Derek James myself, because I feel after what Ryan Garcia said about black people, he shouldn't have been working with him. And for you goofy non-blacks and Hispanics that come on here and try to say that Errol Spence and all this kind of stuff, or Derrick James needed to take care of their family, and that's this is why they did this and that and the third. Plenty of other people to work with. And then the fact that the dude that Derrick James worked with got caught cheating, and he went on a racist rant. And that's why I don't respect a lot of these black boxers, because at the end of the day, they shouldn't be saying Ryan is cool, and in no capacity would I ever root for Ryan Garcia. I don't care who Ryan Garcia fights. In no capacity would I ever root for him or support him. I mean, if you would have made a fried chicken joke or something to that capacity, that ain't that bad. I understand that it's stereotyping. It's a form of racism. But when you say somebody's son grave need to be dug up, you got these dudes like Keyshawn Davis, like I said, he got all this vitriol and all this disrespect for Devin Haney and Bill Haney because he didn't grow up with a father. Like I said, it is what it is. And all these other dudes. And the thing with those dudes, they want to act like they street dudes so bad. You goofy niggas ain't no street dudes. Just be who you are, professional boxers, and keep it at that. But for 3 years since this fight has happened, for the most part, I wasn't the same. I didn't spar. This happened, the eye, and all this kind of stuff. Nah, it don't change nothing. Don't change nothing. And now I understand why, some boxing media ain't respected. And for the most part, every fighter have something wrong with them. Each fight take a little bit out of you. I don't think no fighter goes into any fight 100%. To be honest with you, I think at the most, he probably come in at 90%. And then it dwindles as each fight goes by. As the years go by. I think it goes from, I think it starts off at 100% from the first 2 or 3, 4, 5 fights. And then I think afterwards, it drops to the 90s, then the 80s, 70s. And then I think by the time you in your mid 30s or close to 40s, depending on how many fights you had or whatever your condition is or your body, you probably at maybe 69% going into these fights. That's why boxing is predicated a lot off of skills. That's why the art of boxing is called to hit and not get hit. So I done had enough of this stuff. I'm just tired of it. I done had enough of these excuses. It's just nerve-wracking to just continue to hear these dudes make these excuses on why Spence lost that fight. So like I said, that's gonna be, I'm telling you, that's gonna, so here we go again. Basically a new narrative. Now, I promise you, if Errol Spence looks good against Tim Tszyu, the next narrative is gonna be, Bud should come out of retirement and fight Spence. So I guess y'all want to see Spence get his ass beat again. That's gonna be the next narrative. That's gonna be the next narrative. That Bud should come out of retirement. Now, rumor has it that another reason why Dana White, asked Terrence Crawford to attend the event at the White House is because, rumor has it that they was gonna offer Terrence Crawford $200 million to fight Conor McGregor. My thing is with this, why would I want to see Conor McGregor get his ass beat by Terrence Crawford? And of course, they're going to ask Terrence Crawford to carry the fight. They're going to make it in. And I know Terrence Crawford. They're going to say, hey, man, can you carry Conor McGregor for like 5 or 6 rounds? Make it look action-packed. Make it look like... No, we don't want to. I don't want to see that again. I didn't saw enough of that. I don't want to see it again. We already know the end results. When I say that Terrence Crawford would body Conor McGregor inside like 3 rounds, what Terrence Crawford would do to Conor McGregor, it would be a slow burn. It would be a slow dominate. He would just like pot shot him. And then eventually, probably by the 4th or 5th round, Terrence Crawford will sleep Conor McGregor. Nobody is interested in seeing that. I know it's very lucrative money and stuff, but yeah, we don't want to see that again because we know what the end results is going to be. I didn't had enough of it. I just don't care for that. I don't want to see that no more. We saw what happened with Floyd versus Conor McGregor, 9 years ago. And Floyd, to a certain degree, he carried Conor McGregor. Anthony Joshua, for the most part, he carried Jake Paul a little bit, but I think Anthony Joshua was off a little bit. But you seen when Anthony Joshua got serious, what happened to Jake Paul, because to be honest with you, many of us with common sense knew how that fight was going to end. And Jake Paul thought that he could run and backpedal and be on his bicycle for, for basically, it was, I think, an 8-round fight. Jake Paul's whole mentality was to sit up there and backpedal and try not to get caught. But once Anthony Joshua started walking him down and cornered him, and which, by the way, Anthony Joshua knocked Jake Paul down probably like 3 times that didn't get counted. But no, I don't want to see Bud versus Conor McGregor. I don't want to see that. I know people are mad that Bud retired unscathed. Now, can't say the same for the other guy, Floyd Mayweather, because unfortunately for Floyd Mayweather, he's in deep financial debt. And I'm going to say this again, Floyd need to go file for bankruptcy. And he need to just quit lying, because everybody knows his business. Floyd let them people steal from him. They stole millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars from him. And Floyd need to just cut his losses and just come to grips and accept the fact that he in financial trouble. But anyway, in closing, I'm gonna say this again. This gotta stop, y'all. Y'all gonna have to accept that fight and what the end results was. That Terrence Crawford was the better man that night. I'm really disappointed at Errol Spence for continuing to push this narrative. And me myself, as far as Dre go, I know Dre was trying to be fair, but at the end of the day, Dre is close with Bud. I think to a certain degree, due to the fact that he friends with Bud, he could have, and I know Dre didn't want to come across as, showing his hand that he was tight with Bud, but I think to a certain degree, I think as a fighter, somebody that was in the ring that fought over 30 times, that he should have said, Errol, to a certain degree, I don't think you should do that, and that's not fair to Bud. Because Errol Spence was fine when he signed that contract. But I already knew this. I was prepared for this. I knew this was going to happen. I knew that the excuses was going to come out. I knew people was going to make excuses. I saw it coming a mile away. So, with that being said, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that Errol Spence not being, you know, I don't want to say he not being a man, but he's showing poor sportsmanship. And that's why I don't be wanting to hear that black shit with some of y'all. Because at the end of the day, Terrence Crawford is another black man, and this dude is still 3 years, still making excuses. I don't want to hear that shit. I don't want to hear it anymore. The best man won. And that's just the bottom line. But anyway, it's your boy Town. I'm out.